Mathematical proof that Bitcoin will hit over $100,000 in this cycle. It's a great clickbait title for YouTube, and actually on today's video, I want to be providing at least, some mathematical backing as to why that is more likely. It's probably a more accurate way to say it. So as always, apologies for the heavy clickbait on this channel. It makes it fun though, and I actually do want to be coming at this from a real background, and we'll also even talk about why or how likely are some of the most bearish targets that you might be seeing around the cryptosphere. Anyways, without further ado, we can just jump right in this one right here, right now, starting off with the HPDR cones, which is how we're actually going to do this. So I do want to preface this whole conversation by saying, hey, when we are doing things that are far out like this, it is experimental. While the backtesting results are, I would say, quite strong, at the end of the day, this is more so for funsies, if you will, not as relatable to the more pertinent and lower term time frame analysis that we typically do on this channel. Anyway, starting off right on over here with weekly time frame, I want to bring you back to Bitcoin's first sort of cycle in 2012. Of which I'm going to anchor the HPDR cones, which is essentially a projective feature that projects probabilities for price ranges from an anchoring point. And by the way, if you have the HPDR bundle, this comes a part of it. It's just we haven't really used it that much because unless you're trading options, I actually don't think it's like humongously useful. Or at least it's just not that relatable. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to anchor this at a very specific point. I'm going to anchor it at the point where we do see that HPDRO is neutral, showing essentially a zero read, which is right about here. And then also volatility is coming off of an extreme low area preceding the final breakout to essentially new all-time highs. And as you can see right here, it spits out the probabilistic ranges, and they are actually quite interesting because we do see that, especially the green range high, which is the 88 spot 90% range high, does essentially correctly predict from that point where the next two major parabolic blow-off tops are coming in around. You can see that Bitcoin like to play around all of these major ranges here, which are essentially positioned around Fibonacci numbers, except for the 50%, but 50% is, it's just 50%. It's usually quite useful. And in this case, you can see that it bases off of all of these on the whole way through, and, well, interesting, right? So Bitcoin basically got up to about 90% of the historical returns range high here from that projected point. Okay, well, that doesn't really mean too much without context, but let's go to the next cycle and see if we can find something of interest as well. So again, I am going to put on the cones anchored at the final sort of reset on volatility-based indicators here before the breakout to new all-time highs. And that was, again, right here, zero read on the HPDRO, representing directional volatility, and extreme lows on HPDRV. And what do you know? On this particular one, we do see that Bitcoin kind of rides the blue 50% range high on that first major move, and then ultimately crawls its way up to the 61.8, breaks out above there, and basically, if we were to extend this a little bit further, you can see that it would be essentially testing the 78.6 level. So we have the 88.9 here, we have the 78.6 level here, diminishing returns perhaps, but ultimately Bitcoin, on these parabolic moves getting towards extreme highs. And then, well, we can do the same thing on the most recent cycle right here, of which I'll throw in my HPDR cones, anchoring it at, again, a similar point, that major lull in volatility, directional volatility resets, HPDRV goes down to extreme lows before the breakout to new all-time highs, and what do you know? Bitcoin finds its all-time high basically a little bit above the 61.8 level, but between there and the 78.6. So we can, again, diminishing returns over time makes sense. But you can see that all of these have, at minimum, gotten above the 61.8 level for sure. And, in some cases, a little bit higher than the others. So what if we were to do the same thing for the current move on Bitcoin, as Bitcoin has already printed new all-time highs, technically speaking, very likely to continue from here as well. Maybe after some short-term sideways and downside consolidation. I don't have super strong opinions on that, as we'll go over later. But in this case, we have the same anchoring point now available. So I'll throw it on right here. It would be this portion right here before, this was essentially in October where Bitcoin really started to, initiate this current run to new highs. And as you can see, thus far, Bitcoin has not even traded above the 50% range high here. It's quite close. It's tested it actually a couple times, in the earlier portions of this, but even that would be coming in the mid 70s, so 74 to 75,000 bucks. So Bitcoin, very likely to at least get above there, I would say, based off of the past. Now, if we extend that further, we can see, and this is to answer the question of the title, we can see that the next range high, the 61.8 level here, at current is coming in, just above 100,000 bucks. But the further out that we extend this, and again, we can extend, these ones are projecting like way far out. So it's at the end of these curves, basically. We can see that even at the top side of the 61.8 level, which would be in October of 2024, that would actually be at 277,000 bucks. So is it possible? I guess. I guess it doesn't necessarily imply like a time frame right there, but I would say at least above 100,000 bucks does sound reasonable from a mathematical stance here, based off of prior historical returns. And this is really the stuff that I like to be running off of if I'm going to be running off of anything for very long-term projections. But again, I want to reiterate, when you're doing long-term projections, this is more so for like YouTube clickbait bullshit rather than like reasonable and relatable analysis, at least in my opinion, at least in my experience. If you're a long-term investor, maybe that's also relevant as well, which I have starting to do myself over the past few years. Anyways, so again, the longer that you go out here, the more and more that this does ride up, and ultimately, it kind of depends on when Bitcoin would approach that region as to what sort of number we're probably looking at. Now, I want to answer a question on the other side as well, because, you probably have seen across the crypto landscape, and I won't name names here because I don't think I don't want to be that person like talking direct shit about other people, because it's just, there's no point in it. And anytime that I've done that in the past, I've regretted it just because it attracted like kind of bad people to this channel, people that I probably wouldn't want to be around. In real life. But I would say, when you do hear some of these interesting projections as to how low Bitcoin is going to go, 10,000, 12,000, 8,000, 3,000, whatever the fuck, we can at least mathematically come up with probabilities for what that actually looks like. And the thing is that a lot of the time, again, I'm not talking shit to anyone specifically, but just as a literal fact, like these people typically say, well, the probabilities are in this, in this direction, and the probability is that is that a recession is going to happen, and that means that this is going to happen as far as price goes. As far as I've seen, they have no fucking probabilities. They're just saying that. They have nothing to back it up, like nothing, or at least from what I understand. Anyways, we can see here that even the bottom side of the blue 50% of historic returns range lows is at 24,000 bucks. And by the way, it starts to curve up over time. Why is that? Because the trend is your friend, by the way. But we won't get into that right now. You can see that in past cycles as well. And by the way, I should also add that in past cycles, once you have gotten that explosion of volatility into that move towards new all-time highs, Bitcoin has never even tested anywhere near the bottom side of the 50% of historic returns range lows. But, even if we were to run with the assumption that the probabilities are as they are here, even going out to the 61.8 level, which means that basically you have like 38% probability to trade below there, and it's actually less than that. It would be half of that because 61.8 is on both sides, so it'd be 38 divided by 2 is 19, so it's really like 19% probability that you even trade below this range low right here, which is about 21-ish thousand bucks. And then you got the 78.6 level, which is at 14,500 bucks. Again, depends kind of where you go at it from. And again, that's not even 78.6. That's really like 22 divided by 2, so 11% probability that you even see below there. And then you can go up to 88.9, which there you actually do start to see 12,000 bucks for a second. But even that would be like 6% probability. So is it a reasonable statement to be making? At least from a mathematically and probabilistic standpoint, I would say no. It's based off of, or I don't know what the fuck it's based off of. I don't know what the fuck it's based off of. It's like we're speaking different languages, which reminds me of my girlfriend, of my fiance Elsa. And you know what? It's great. It's great being with someone who's not a native English speaker, because they say funny shit, man. They say funny shit. Like last night, Elsa, in her best alien impression, said, "E.T. calls to home." I'm just thinking in my mind, like, don't think you got that one right. And that's in addition to all sorts of other crazy, funny shit that she says, like, "Shit's about to get down," which makes me think you're about to drop a dookie, not that something is about to happen. Shit's about to go down. I have to explain these things to her. It's shit's about to go down, my love. Shit's about to go down. But I do not understand. E.T. calls to home. Anyways, moving on from here. Let's go to our next chart. Let's look at the daily statistics. Again, I'm only measuring from basically when 2023 started, as that is essentially when this bull phase started. And the statistics, I mean, realistically, if you were to measure them from there or from literally the starting point of Bitcoin's history, it's more or less the same over time. But Friday is the second most likely to be bullish day. Actually, in fact, now it is tied for first. It is tied for first after after this past Tuesday's negative performance day. With an average return of 2.02% on the gaining side. So when it does close positively, and on the times that it does lose, loses an average of 1.5% basically. So let's see what that would kind of imply in terms of today's range. Taking it from the open plus 2% puts Bitcoin at 68,500 basically. 1.5% to the downside puts Bitcoin at $66,000. That seems like much too tight of a range. But we do kind of expect volatility to contract a bit here. To be fair. Oh shit, I completely lost my notes. There we go. All right, found them. Also on top of that, we do see that daily stochastic momentum is going to be downside positioned as long as Bitcoin is closing today below 67,500. So, I would say that Bitcoin's still more or less in for a sideways and perhaps downside corrective period, assuming that Bitcoin continues to close below this pivot, 67,500. And then, of course, we go back on over here. We get rid of all these damn cones, and we put on my favorite indicator of all goddamn time, which is the HPDR bands. We can see. Actually, let's check out what the bands look like on CME for Friday. Ooh, okay, this is quite interesting. We can see that Bitcoin's right at the 88.3 level. If it does close below, again, it's like, does next week consolidate a little bit more? Perhaps yes, but I mean, overall, this is a bullish consolidation as long as price action is above 58,000 bucks. I mean, that much is, in my opinion, quite obvious. But based off the daily right here, we are starting to see volatility contract, which you would expect. It's starting to contract, I'd say, like rather fast, especially with yesterday's, lost about 20 points right there. Or 20 percentiles, if that even makes sense. So the longer the Bitcoin goes sideways here, the more and more bullish that this will inevitably be as the median starts to catch up. It's just essentially reset as of right now. So as of this moment, the daily range for the most recent range is 61.8 level to the downside, which is about 66,750, and to the upside is 70,800. So more sideways just allows for that to catch up a little bit more. In fact, if I look at the index for spot, the median it's already extremely close to current price action. Probably just needs like a few more days of resetting here. We got a weekend coming up, which is a great time for that to be happening, as HPDR is already dropping below 50 percentile. So fair enough. With the median coming in at 63,000 bucks. So if Bitcoin wanted to come back down to 63, back test there, that's completely fine. Again, I'd even say if Bitcoin came down to 58,000 bucks, that'd be fine. As long as it's above 58,000 bucks on a closing basis, it is bullish long term, and it's just kind of a waiting game right now. Anyways, we've gone over that. One last thing, because I've been getting a lot of questions about this, and for good reason. People are starting to finally pick up on the power of the Krown Quant automation tool, which allows you to automate all of your trades. I'm working on a new strategy here, which I'm really, really excited about. I'm going to get rid of my face for a second here just because I want to show the beginning of this curve as well. It's not done just yet, but this is this is, in my opinion, probably one of my best ones. It's a strategy on the 13-minute, actually, back tested all the way to January of 2011. Throughout that time, has boasted just over a 68.25% win rate with a profit factor of 1.5%. It's a fucking simple strategy as I have it right now. It's a very simple strategy, super simple strategy. But simple, in my experience, is good. It's a volatility-based strategy based off of the Krown VMP here. As you can see, I'll put my face back on as well, which comes bundled with the automation features. And realistically, I mean, that's what I want to see over time. It's just that smooth and steady up and to the right. It's not perfect, of course. Doesn't need to be perfect. When trading with algorithms, you use time and probabilities as your ally. That's it. Anyways, I'll keep you updated on this one, especially for the people who are in that program. As you know, if you're in that program, you get access to these strategy templates as well as the automation tool, which you can fill out exactly as you want. So I will present this there as sort of like a template that you can use. And you can iterate off of that, which you naturally will, especially if you're trading other assets. But the base is the important part, and then you just make it kind of relevant to whatever you're looking at. Anyways, I do want to let you know still that it is on sale for 35% off, which will be the biggest sale that we have ever for this one, to just incentivize people to go from the prior venue of crowntrading.net to the new venue, which is Teachable, which is in the link in the description below. With the code, and I don't even have it up here right now, but it is happy 6 year. And then next Monday, or this coming Monday, we will launch the official sale with everything else as well. But for right now, this one's 35% off, and yeah, that'll be that. So it's cool to see. It's cool to see more and more people getting into that, because at least in my opinion, systematic trading is ideal. I think for many people, especially if you have a similar preference and personality to myself, probably for you. For other people, discretionary trading is completely fine as well. I'm not saying that doesn't work. Of course it does. You can make it work. I've seen people make it work, but it comes down to your preferences. You don't want to be fighting yourself. So if you're more like a systematically minded person, this would be something for you. And the reason why I show this one so far is because this, in my opinion, is the best service that we've ever offered ever, just because it solves so many issues. And you get your own fucking bot slave. Bot lives don't matter. You can have your own little slave. The slaves are on sale. Get your slaves. They don't sleep. They work every day, every fucking day. They don't take breaks and they don't complain. But they do make noises on your trading view and send you emails sometimes when you enter into or exit out of trades. Anyways, I'll end things right there before I say anything worse. The things I say to my bot. It's bad. It's real bad. It's real fucking bad. Anyways, on that note, we'll end things. As always, I want to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully next time.